My affair partner was in the shower when his phone buzzed. I looked down and saw a text from my husband that said, "Take good care of her. She's your problem now." Then I heard the front door slam shut. My affair partner was in the shower when his phone buzzed. I looked down and saw a text from my husband that said, "Take good care of her. She's your problem now." Then I heard the front door slam shut. For a second, I couldn't move. My brain refused to catch up with reality. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the phone off the nightstand, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I unlocked it.
No pascode.
No security. Because Mike, yes, let's call him Mike, was just as careless as I was. More messages started popping up. Him. I already told your sister. She can come get whatever's left. Him. I'm done. My stomach twisted into a knot, so tight I felt sick. I sat there, staring at the screen, waiting for another text that would tell me this was all just some cruel joke. That he didn't mean it. That there was a way to fix this. But nothing came. Then the shower turned off. I could hear the sound of wet feet stepping onto the bathroom tile. The rustle of a towel. The pipes groaning as the water finally stopped running. And suddenly, it hit me. I wasn't at home. I wasn't in my bed. I was in his apartment, in some crappy part of town, surrounded by someone else's things, with nothing to my name except the clothes on my back and whatever was stuffed in my purse. Mike walked out of the bathroom, rubbing a towel over his hair. He was smiling, completely clueless. "What's up?" he asked, then froze when he saw my face. I turned the phone around so he could see the screen. His smile disappeared. "Oh, He blinked. Damn. That was it.
Damn.
I stared at him, waiting for more. Waiting for some kind of reaction, some kind of plan, some kind of anything. But he just stood there, towel around his waist, still dripping water onto the floor like this was just another regular day. "You knew this could happen," he finally said. "I mean, we weren't exactly being careful." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was the dumbest thing he could have possibly said in that moment. "You think I planned for this?" My voice came out sharp, angrier than I meant. But I didn't care. He shrugged. "I don't know. You never really talked about leaving him." I wanted to scream. Because he was right. I never actually planned to leave my husband. I never thought I'd get caught. I thought I could keep sneaking around, keep lying, keep pretending to be the perfect wife, while slipping away whenever it suited me. I thought I was in control.
But now?
Now, I had nothing. I reached for my purse and grabbed my phone, my fingers shaking as I tried to call my husband. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. My stomach sank. I tried texting. The messages went through, but there were no read receipts. No response. I called my sister. She picked up after 3 rings, but her voice was different. Cold. "What do you want?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. He told me everything," she cut in. "So, don't even try to lie." I closed my eyes. "I need somewhere to stay." Silence. Then, she let out a sharp breath.
"No.
I'm not doing this, Jessica." My chest tightened.
Please."
Another pause. Then, actions have consequences. And then she hung up. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, staring at nothing. This wasn't just a bad dream. This was real. My husband knew. My family knew. I had nowhere to go, no way to fix this, no backup plan. I was homeless. And the man I had ruined my marriage for?
Mike was already getting dressed.
I watched as he pulled on his jeans, as if this was just some minor inconvenience he had to deal with before moving on with his day. So, he cleared his throat. "You gonna be okay?" I turned my head so fast my neck cracked. "Are you serious?" My voice shook, but not with sadness. With rage. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, I'm sorry, alright? But this isn't my problem. I didn't tell you to cheat on your husband. That was your choice." My hands clenched into fists. "I gave up everything for you." He scoffed. Actually scoffed. "No, you didn't. You just got caught." And just like that, the last little bit of hope I had left shattered. I had thrown away my entire life for a man who didn't even care if I stayed or left. I felt something inside me snap. Mike grabbed his keys from the counter and opened the door. "I think it's best if you figure out your next move." I just stared at him. He shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I don't want drama." Then he walked out. I stood in the middle of his crappy apartment, completely alone. I had no home. No car because it was in my husband's name. No money because our bank account was joint, and I was willing to bet my access had already been cut off. I was screwed. And the worst part? I had done this to myself. But if I was going down, I was taking him with me. I stood there in silence, my ears ringing, my chest so tight, I could barely breathe. The apartment felt colder now, emptier. The air smelled like his cheap body wash, and the bed was still messy from us, and I wanted to set the whole place on fire. But I didn't. I had bigger things to worry about. I needed to figure out where to go. I grabbed my purse and checked my wallet, $63 in cash and a debit card that was probably useless now. I tried to check my bank app, but the login failed. I reset my password. Failed again. Then it hit me. My husband had already locked me out. I tried my credit card. Declined. My mouth went dry. He wasn't just kicking me out, he was cutting me off completely. I didn't even have a way to get a hotel room. I stood in the middle of that dingy apartment, gripping my phone like it could somehow fix this for me, and realized just how badly I had screwed up. I was on my own. I walked out, leaving behind everything except my purse. Mike's neighbors were standing outside, smoking, laughing. One of them, a guy in a stained hoodie, gave me a once-over and smirked. Rough night. I ignored him and kept walking. I had no plan, no destination. I just needed to get away. I ended up at a diner down the street, one of those greasy, 24-hour places with sticky booths and the smell of burnt coffee in the air. I slid into a corner seat and ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, black coffee and toast. I sat there, staring at my phone, willing my husband to text back.
To say something.
He didn't. But someone else did. A number I didn't recognize. Unknown. Hope he was worth it. I felt a chill go down my spine. Before I could even think of a response, another text came through. Unknown. You have no idea what's coming. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. I looked around the diner like maybe somehow whoever sent that message was watching me. The waitress walked by and topped off my coffee. I forced myself to breathe. I typed back.
Who is this?
Nothing. I checked the number. It wasn't saved in my contacts. I ran a quick search, no results. My stomach twisted. I wanted to believe it was just some cruel joke. Maybe my sister. Maybe one of my husband's friends trying to scare me. But something about it felt wrong. I shoved my phone into my purse and forced myself to eat. Every bite felt like cardboard, but I needed something in my stomach. I had to think clearly. I needed help. I couldn't go to my sister. I couldn't go to Mike. That left one person. My best friend, Rachel. I hadn't told her about the affair. She always liked my husband. She would hate me for this. But I had no other choice. I called her. She answered on the third ring.
Jess.
The sound of her voice nearly broke me. I had to swallow down the lump in my throat just to get words out. I need help. She hesitated. What happened? I closed my eyes. Can I come over? Another pause. Then, softly. Where are you? I told her. She sighed. Give me 20 minutes. I hung up and let out a shaky breath. Maybe I wasn't completely alone after all. I sat there, sipping my now cold coffee, staring at the door every time it opened. And then my phone buzzed again. Unknown, tick-tock. I felt my pulse in my throat. Whoever this was, they weren't done with me yet. I sat frozen, my phone still in my hand, my mind racing.
Tick-tock.
I stared at those two little words until they blurred together, my breath coming in short, uneven gasps. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to respond, but something in my gut told me not to. Who was this? It wasn't my husband. He wasn't the type to play games. If he wanted to say something, he'd say it straight. And if it was my sister, she would have just cussed me out, not sent some creepy, vague warning. I looked around the diner again, my skin prickling. The waitress was talking to an older couple by the register. A few truckers sat near the counter, eating in silence.
No one was looking at me.
No one seemed out of place. But someone somewhere was watching. My hands were still shaking when Rachel pulled up outside. She barely put the car in park before I yanked the door open and slid into the passenger seat. She took one look at me, and her face hardened. Jesus, Jess. What the hell happened? I opened my mouth, ready to tell her everything, but my throat closed up. Where did I even start? My husband knows. I whispered instead. She clenched her jaw.
Yeah.
I know. My stomach dropped. You? He called me, she said flatly, pulling back onto the road. Told me what you did. I sank lower into my seat. Are you mad? She exhaled sharply. I don't even know what I am right now. Disappointed? Embarrassed for you? I mean, Mike, Jess? You threw away your entire marriage for him? I winced. Rachel was the only person I trusted, and even she was disgusted with me. I screwed up, I muttered. She gave me a sideways glance. No kidding. I stared out the window, swallowing hard. The streets blurred past, cold and dark, as I tried to hold myself together. Then my phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look. I looked anyway. Unknown. You think you're safe? My stomach twisted. Rachel glanced over. Who's that? I didn't answer right away. I just turned the phone toward her. She frowned. What the hell? I don't know who it is, I admitted. They started texting me after my husband found out. She hesitated, then took the next turn sharply, pulling into an empty gas station parking lot. She put the car in park and turned to face me. Okay, this is officially creepy as hell. I nodded, gripping my phone tighter. She took a deep breath. Have you talked to Mike? I scoffed.
Yeah.
He told me this wasn't his problem and left. Her face darkened.
Wow.
What a stand-up guy. I shook my head, staring down at my lap. I don't know what to do. Rachel was quiet for a long time. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. I'm calling your husband. My heart lurched.
No, Jess.
She shot me a sharp look. You need to talk to him. I clenched my jaw. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text. Unknown, still think this is a game? A chill crawled up my spine. Rachel's phone rang 3 times before it went to voicemail. She cursed under her breath. I swallowed hard, staring at my screen. Rach, what if this isn't about him? Her brows knitted together. What do you mean? I hesitated. What if this wasn't just some pissed-off friend of my husband's? What if it was Mike? My pulse quickened. I need to see him, I said suddenly. Rachel's eyes widened. Jess, are you serious? I nodded, gripping my phone tighter. If Mike was behind this, I needed to know. If he wasn't, then someone else was out there and they weren't finished with me yet. Rachel didn't want to take me. She made that very clear. But she also didn't want to leave me alone, and she definitely didn't want me to make even dumber decisions than I already had. So she drove me back to Mike's place, the same dingy apartment I had left just an hour earlier, the place where I had been so sure I was escaping to something instead of throwing everything I had away. The lights were on inside. Rachel parked across the street and turned to me. If you go in there, you better have a damn good reason, she said. Because if this is just you clinging to him, because you have nowhere else to go, I'm leaving. And I'm not coming back for you. Her words stung, but I nodded. I stepped out of the car, heart pounding, and walked up to his door. My fingers trembled as I knocked. Silence. Then, footsteps. The door swung open, and there he was, Mike, standing in the doorway, looking half annoyed, half surprised. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair still damp from his earlier shower. Jessica, he said slowly, eyes flicking behind me to Rachel's car. What are you doing here? I didn't answer. I just pushed past him and stepped inside. He shut the door behind me. Okay, what the hell? I turned to face him, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers ached. Someone's been texting me. He frowned. Texting you? I nodded. They know what happened. They know where I am. And they're threatening me. His eyes darkened. What do you mean, threatening? I held up my phone and scrolled to the messages. I watched his face carefully, waiting for a flicker of recognition, a twitch of guilt, something. But he barely reacted. Instead, he sighed and rubbed his temple. Jesus, Jess. You're being paranoid. I stared at him. Paranoid? He shrugged. Your husband's pissed. Probably got one of his buddies messing with you. Something about the way he said it didn't sit right. I took a step closer. You swear it's not you? His jaw tensed. Why the hell would I do that? I wanted to believe him. But then something caught my eye, his phone, sitting face up on the coffee table. The screen lit up. A text. Unknown. She's there. Does she know yet? The blood drained from my face. I lunged for his phone, but Mike was faster. He grabbed it and turned away, his back to me, pressing the screen against his leg as he muttered, Jesus Christ, Jess, what the hell? Who is that? My voice shook. None of your business. Rage boiled in my chest. Give me your phone. He turned around, his face hard. No, I took a shaky step back. You are behind this.
He scoffed.
Don't be stupid. I felt sick. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might throw up right there in his filthy apartment. Mike, I whispered. What did you do? For the first time, he looked uncomfortable. I took another step back. Tell me. He exhaled sharply. I didn't do anything, all right? Then who are you texting? He didn't answer. I reached for his phone again, and this time, I caught him off guard. I snatched it out of his hand and took a step back before he could grab it. He cursed. Jessica, don't. I unlocked it. No passcode. Just like before. My hands shook as I scrolled, and then I saw them. A thread of messages. From him to an unknown number. Him. She's freaking out. She'll break soon. Him. You were right. She came running back. Him. Just waiting for the right moment. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. I looked up at him, my hands trembling. You set me up? Mike ran a hand through his hair, his jaw tight. You're overreacting. Overreacting. My voice was shrill now. You were texting someone, what, my husband? You planned this. He exhaled. Not exactly. Then explain. Silence. My head spun. I thought I had ruined my life because of my mistakes. Because of my choices. But Mike had been playing me. All this time. I took a shaky breath. Who are you texting? He rubbed his temple. Look, this isn't what you think. I shook my head. I don't care what you think this is. I want the truth. He hesitated. And then my phone buzzed again. I looked down. Another message from unknown. Unknown. You ready to tell her, or should I? My stomach dropped. Mike stiffened. And in that moment I knew. I looked up at him, my pulse hammering in my throat. It is my husband, isn't it? Mike didn't say anything. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Oh my God. Everything made sense now. The timing. The texts. The way my husband had cut me off so quickly, as if he had already prepared for it. He knew I would go to Mike. He knew Mike would let me in. He had been waiting for this. Mike shifted uncomfortably. It's not like that. I looked back down at his phone, scrolled further. And then I saw it. A picture. Of me. Taken earlier that night at the diner. Mike had sent it to my husband. I felt like I was going to be sick. How long have you been talking to him? Mike sighed. A couple weeks. My hands were ice cold. So what, he paid you? Mike hesitated. Not exactly. I swallowed hard. Then what? Mike exhaled. He just wanted to make sure you knew what it felt like to lose everything. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My husband hadn't just found out.
He had planned this.
I had thought I was the one in control, the one making choices, the one sneaking around behind his back. But he had been watching me the whole time. I turned and stormed toward the door, but Mike grabbed my arm. Wait. I yanked free. Don't touch me. I threw his phone back at him, then bolted outside. Rachel was still parked across the street. The moment she saw my face, she flung the door open. Drive, I gasped, slamming the door behind me. She didn't ask questions. She just stepped on the gas and sped off. I stared out the window, my hands shaking. I had spent weeks thinking I had wrecked my own life. But my husband had been behind the wheel the entire time. And now, I didn't know what was coming next. But I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over.